Here is a question which is related to our tip number 1. I hope you remember tip number 1 was what is square root of x square? The question here is horizontal asymptote for f of x equals to square root of 9x squared plus 2x minus 3 divided by 2x plus 1 is what? Now we are given 5 choices. I'd like you to pause the video, select the right answer, and then look into my suggestion. Now this is how I'm going to solve this question. Let me do the solution on the right side. So when we are saying horizontal asymptote, what does that mean? So horizontal asymptote means what happens to the function as x approaches positive or negative infinity, correct? So there are two possibilities, right? That means when x approaches positive infinity, what happens to f of x? And when x approaches negative infinity, what happens to f of x? This is what we have to answer, right? Once we know this answer, we know what horizontal asymptote is, whether it exists or not. Now let's simplify the function and then check the answer. So what we have here is f of x equals to square root of 9x squared plus 2x minus 3 divided by 2x plus 1. Now we have to check the value when x is approaching a large value, which is positive infinity or negative infinity. So what we can do here is we can factor out x squared from the numerator. So if we do that, we get x squared, and then we are left with 9 plus 2 over x minus 3 over x squared, right, as the numerator, and the denominator is 2x plus 1. Now we can factor out x squared from the square root. And you know, if x is very large, then 2 over x and minus 3 over x will approach 0, right? And in the denominator, x is much larger than 1, so 2x will be there in the denominator. So let's do the first step, that is just factoring out x squared and utilizing our tip number 1. Square root of x squared is absolute value of x. So we get absolute value of x, and within square root we get 9 plus 2 over x minus 3 over x squared, and we have 2x plus 1. Now if x approaches plus or minus infinity, in that case what happens? In that case 2 over x approaches 0, 3 over x squared also approaches 0, right, since these are very large numbers, and 2x plus 1 approaches 2x. Is that okay? So that is what we are going to do. As x approaches plus or minus infinity, we can write f of x as equals to absolute value of x, and we have 9 here, right, times 3, square root of 9, and in the denominator we have 2x, correct? Now if x approaches positive infinity, then f of x approaches what? X is positive, right? So absolute x is plus x. So we can write f of x equals to 3 over x over 2 over x, which is 3 over 2. Now if x approaches negative infinity, then f of x approaches what? Let's calculate. We have f of x equals to absolute x approaches negative x. We get minus 3x over 2x, and we get minus 3 over 2. Do you see that? Why is it so? Since as absolute x is defined like what? Absolute x is equals to x if x is greater than or equal to 0, right? But it's minus of x if x is less than 0. That is the reason. So what do we get? Our answer is both, right? So the answer is C. Y equals to minus 3 over 2. when x approaches negative infinity, and y equals to plus 3 over 2 when x approaches positive infinity. So that is what our answer is. Correct? So we get two answers for it. There are two horizontal asymptotes for the given function. One is when x is approaching minus infinity, at that time y approaches minus 3 over 2, and when x approaches positive infinity, y approaches, or f of x approaches 3 over 2. So these are our answers. Correct? That's how we do it. Thank you.